scenarios, but ultimately that'll be your judgment to determine that. But I can tell you who I believe didn't do it, and that's Lee Harvey Oswald, the person who's been blamed for it for all these years. I do not believe he did it. I don't believe anything of the sort. When you look at the evidence and you see how it all laid and played out, you can see that he was a pawn in a powerful game, and he was a low-level intelligence agent for our country, and I believe that his children still live today, and that it's high time that their father be cleared of these charges that he's been saddled with without a trial. I remember I did Tom Sullivan a week or so ago on Fox Business News, and they did the lead-in, and the lead-in said, "Convicted killer Lee Harvey Oswald." And as soon as it got to me, I said, "Tom, see what you guys in mainstream media do? Convicted killer." I said, "Lee Harvey Oswald was never convicted of jaywalking. He was never convicted of this crime. He might have been convicted in the public opinion by mainstream media, but he was never convicted. No one was ever put under oath. No trial ever took place, except the Garrison trial, which that didn't try Lee Harvey Oswald, that tried Clay Shaw. And thank goodness for that. The trial was a failure, but it was also a success, because had Jim Garrison not did that trial in the latter 60s in New Orleans, we would have never seen the Zapruder film. Why? If it's what they told us, why would they hide documents and film from us? That's what I always question. If the official story is official, and not just to protect officials, that's why they call it the official story. If the official story is what they say it is, why would they feel a need to cover up anything? The truth is what it is. I always love to tell people about my run for governor here in our great state. I tell them that I never once used a prepared speech, and they're astounded over that. And I go, well, it's really not hard. It's not difficult. If you tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory. You don't have to remember what you said yesterday if you're telling the truth, because the truth is what it is. It is what it is. And if you tell the truth, you don't need a great memory, because you know what the truth is. And in this case, I think that, and then we'll open for Q&A. You know, I don't want to just sit here and give you rhetoric all night. We'll hear what you want to talk about and try to discuss that. But this is an important event even today, and I'll tell you why. And again, remember the word they. I can't rightly tell you who they are. But remember this, if they can get away with killing our president and hide it from us for 50 years now, what can't they get away with? And that's really the essence of the book, and why we still, for young people, that some are here who weren't even close to being alive when John Kennedy lived, it's still important to you today. Because if they can do that, they are still getting away with it. And it's time for the truth on this. When you read this book, you're going to be astounded, and it's going to be laughable, a lot of things. When you read it, you go, you got to be kidding. But a lot of it is going to be new news to you, unless you're an aficionado of it, which some people are. I know a few here in the crowd that I can look at it and know they are. But you're going to see things in this book, if you're not, that you're going to say, why wasn't I told this? Why wasn't I made aware of these things? Like the fact that, I'll give you a quick one, the automobile, the car, the Kennedy limo, that's a crime scene. Everybody watches TV at night and sees all these cop shows. You don't have to be a police officer to know what happens. What happens? They put the yellow tape around it, right? Nobody's allowed to touch nothing till forensic and all the scientists get through with it. They need to gather evidence. Well, the president's car was a crime scene. When they drove him to Parkland Hospital in an attempt to save his life and took him inside there, yellow tape should have gone around that car immediately. It should not have been touched or moved from the Parkland Hospital parking lot where they sped to try to save the president's life. Well, Monday morning, and we have the witnesses, we have the quotes and everything in there. Monday morning, that crime scene was in Detroit, Michigan at the Ford Motor Plant being totally refurbished. No one got to see it. No one got to go through it. No one got to do anything with it. Now that is just plain obstruction of justice, correct? Well, that was on orders of the new president, Lyndon Johnson. Now, you're telling me the president doesn't know about the yellow tape? They want me to buy in the fact that he was so emotionally moved, that he felt so distraught or whatever, that he felt, we've got to get this car refurbished as fast as possible. The American people, that's more important than having forensic people go through this car and see where bullets came out and if there was, you know, anything in this car with brains and blood and everything else that went on in this murder at the crime scene. You know, remember, they even usually draw that figure of where the body was, right? Everybody here's seen Mr. Mom, right? When what's his name lays down and gets into the, you know. But I mean, we can chuckle at it, but you know, this thing was a serious breach of standard operating procedures of a homicide. And this is the President of the United States, for God's sake. This isn't just a homicide. This is the leader of our country. And such sloppy police work and sloppiness could be accepted? Well, it wasn't. It's only because it was by design that all this went on. So that's a few of the things I think one thing we do in the book I want to mention, if you're internet crazy like everyone is today, at the end of certain paragraphs, we show you and tell you where you can lock right in on the internet. And you can bring these things up yourself, this evidence, and you can read it or see it yourself. And one of the most dynamic is there is now tape out there of one of the Secret Service. Whenever you look for a conspiracy, look for the violation of standard operating procedures, whether it's military or civilian. That's how government runs. Well, standard operating procedure of the Secret Service, they ride on the president's bumper. And you can see the tape of this young Secret Service man getting on the bumper, being ordered off by his superior, and he throws his hands out wide, palms to the heavens, and you can just imagine he's going, what's going on here? You know, I've been trained, I'm supposed to get on the bumper of this car. That's standard operating. Why am I being ordered off the president's bumper? And you can watch it yourself, so come to your own conclusion on it when you watch him being ordered off where he should have been riding. And we give you the name of the superior who ordered him off in the book. Probably they're not alive anymore, most likely, because I was 12 when it happened, and I went on. I had the ability. I didn't do it, but I had the ability to go on Social Security this year. Something you really love bragging about. Anyway, on that note, I hope you enjoy the book. I think you're going to find it a phenomenal read. It's as good as anything Clancy or any of them guys can write, because the people are real. And often, let me finish with this, often they say in this conspiracies that, well, if it was a conspiracy, someone would have talked, right? Right? People have talked. It's just that the media hasn't reported it. People talk and it's greeted with silence. And I'll give you the best example. Richard M. Nixon, our president, in his infamous Watergate tapes, it's right on the tapes. Nixon states on the tapes that the Warren Commission was the biggest hoax ever perpetrated on the American people. Now, this isn't Jesse Ventura telling you this. This is the tapes of President Richard Nixon. He says it, not me. So it was obviously of his opinion, and he was kind of an insider, I would think, that it was the biggest hoax ever perpetrated on the American people. So people have talked, ladies and gentlemen. It's just that our media hasn't reported on it and hasn't listened over 50 years. Plenty of people have talked and spoken, and they deserve great credit for telling the truth, because I'll just finish with this and then we'll take questions. Isn't it amazing how today they've made the word truth bad? If you're a truther now, you're like a conspiracy theorist. And those are all bad connotations. How can they make the word truth bad? That's one of the most remarkable morphs I've ever seen. That they're now capable of doing that to us. That the word truth now has a bad connotation to it. Ooh, you mean you tell the truth? Well, by God, then I better watch you close. You tell the truth. We're putting you under surveillance. You're hell of You tell. Well, I'll tell you this. I must be under a lot of surveillance tonight. So as I leave the building tonight, I'll wave. You know, wherever they got me under surveillance and all that. Because I'll tell you, I never thought I'd see the day where the word truth could have a bad connotation, where they call you a truther or something, which I'm not. I don't join any groups. I do my own research and come to my own opinions. So we'll open up for some Q&A if anybody's got anything. Thing at the Boston Marathon last spring. I'm not going to. I was in Mexico. I only saw what my writing partner Dick Russell showed me on the internet on it. So I'm certainly not an authority. I'm not going to venture a guess. Was the bombing a conspiracy or not? That's not where I'm going here. But what I saw and what immediately jumped at me, and I think you'll appreciate what I'm going to say, when I saw what went down, I looked, and the first thing that jumped out at me was, this is a run-through for martial law. Yeah. What you have here, because the government don't do nothing without practicing. They like to have practice sessions, and they like to disguise them, what they're really practicing for. And when I saw how the citizens were ordered inside their homes, and there was military on the streets, the first thing that jumped at me was they're using this occasion they were waiting for an event like this to happen so that they could do a run-through of if they were going to implement martial law. And the people of Boston were wonderful because they all went in their home. I'll tell you this right now. If that happens in Minneapolis and we're told that we have to stay in our house, I'm immediately going out in the middle of the street and I'm walking down the street. Because wait a minute, there is nothing in our Constitution that gives our government the authority to restrict me to my home. Where? Show me where in the Constitution of the United States that allows them to simply tell me you have to stay in your home by orders of me. Hey, if I go out there and get hurt, that's my fault. If I'm dumb enough to walk out into a crossfire or something, that's my stupidity. But they have no right to tell me and order me to my home and say you cannot come out of your house. And that's how I feel about it. I'll immediately start walking right down the center of the street.
Maybe we can talk for a minute or two, because I'll tell you where they're making that argument, where it's coming from, and why we need to be resisting that argument.
Well, I got an idea where it's coming from. Anyway, yeah, come on up after this is over. Yes, sir.
How far do you think we are away from complete government control?
You're asking me questions I don't have answers for. Right? Which they had to do. I mean, you can't just arbitrarily say, well, we're not paying our bills. But you know what I found ironic? The day they raised the debt ceiling, the first thing that it allowed them to do, they gave billions of dollars to Pakistan in foreign aid. Now that means that's our money being given to Pakistan, but we're paying the bill for it. It's going on our debt. So when people ask me about running for president, the first thing I would tell you is that I would do is that I would eliminate all foreign aid immediately to anyone. Because I just can't see when you're in debt so far as we are to where our grandchildren are being born and they owe 50 grand the day they take their first breath of air or whatever it is. When we've been so haphazard with our budgets, how can we? I mean, if you put that in layman's terms, your house is being foreclosed on. You're 3 car payments behind, but Uncle Bob calls and wants to borrow $500. You gonna do it? Well, there you go. How on earth can we give anybody a dime? How? And all it is, it's a system of bribery. They use bribery in our elections because it's all about the money and paying them off and getting them elected, right? Then it carries right over into our foreign policy. This is what the Democrats and Republicans have created, people. When you think that you're voting for change just because you switch parties, don't fool yourself. You're not going to have no change. Then they go beyond that. It's the same bribery in foreign aid. What is foreign aid? It's us giving these countries cash so that they'll support what we want to do. That's called bribery. In the private sector, you go to jail for that. In the public sector, it's alive and well. You know, it's asinine, it's insane. And until we change the course, and believe me, we're going to have to suffer pain. You think they're not, if you elected me, you think they wouldn't punish you? The Democrats and Republicans, you think they wouldn't? Yes, they would. Yes, they would. But the point is, we'd have to all stick together to get through it. That kind of didn't happen here when I became governor, if you want to think back a little. I needed you, and you guys forsaked me a little. You know, because while strength is in the number of people reacting, why do you think we're not at war in Syria? Because 300 to 400 people to one took the time to pick up the phone or email and call them and say no. And they got the message. And you know what Syria's really about? Here's what I know what it's really about. Assad's not being cooperative with the oil companies about running a pipeline through. So they need his government overthrown to get a sympathetic government in there who will allow the pipeline to go through. It's got nothing to do with chemical weapons. That's just to get you ticked off so you'll support it. What hypocrisy. Chemical weapons, we've been using them for 60 years. What's napalm? Guess that don't count. I guess if you burn someone to a crisp in a matter of a microsecond, that don't count. That's humane. That's okay. You know, that's the same. You're equal to a hot dog. You know, what the hell? There's nothing wrong with a hot dog if you're at the game. You know, nothing wrong with burning somebody up with a little napalm. You know, that's a chemical weapon, ladies and gentlemen. We use it. How come we can use it and no one else? Well, I wish nobody'd use any of it. But the point is the hypocrisy. You can see what I'm getting at. So 2 more questions, then we'll sign books. Who haven't? And I need to see people. Let me state this so you can state it clearly so people understand. In order to keep my integrity of who I am, I need Howard Stern. And there's a reason. It ain't because Howard's the shock jock and that Howard's this. Howard has power. Howard has a radio show that can't be taken off the air. It's on Sirius. So we could use that as a platform, thus spend less money to get elected. Howard also has the ability to get me $50 donations, and that don't buy you in the door, people. If you give me $50, it don't mean you're getting in to talk to me. You know, but that's the way I gotta have it, because I won't accept PAC money, I won't accept special interest money, but you still gotta have enough money to run national ads to be competitive. And I won't do it to lose or make a statement. I run to win. I run to win. So, if you want to pressure someone, pressure Stern. Because I gotta have him, and I'm telling you why. I'm open about it, and I'm telling you why. To keep my integrity intact, so I don't. Did you know my entire 4 years as your governor, I never met with a lobbyist? Because I didn't take their briberies, so they had no in with me. Why do you think they wanted me gone over there? That's a whole industry. I was destroying jobs. Bribery jobs. Come on, that's part of a jobs program. You know, bribe your elected official. That's a job. You can't shut that down. By the way, let me finish. No more questions, but let me finish with this. The stadiums. I solved them when I was in, and I'll tell you how. And maybe you I'll call them up and tell them that I told you how to do it. Okay? See, the dog even knows. But you can build all the stadiums you want for all these teams and it won't cost any of you a dime. Legalize sports betting. They're trying to do this baloney stuff on the internet. I brought law enforcement in when I was governor, and I said to them, they tell me it's $2 billion a year in Minnesota. Law enforcement said, Governor, we think you're light, it's closer to 3. So you've got a $3 billion a year industry that goes on every day here, every week, and we're collecting 0 taxes on it. Bring it above board, make it legal. If the state run one out at Mall of America, have satellites out in the other major cities, if the state gets just simply 10% what the bookie gets, that's $300 million of new money every year. You could build the Viking Stadium in 4 years and have it completely paid for on the backs of the very gamblers that lose their profit off the games. I told them that 12 years ago, over a decade ago, and I even went so far, I went to the 7 chiefs of the Native American tribes in Minnesota and got their blessing. They said, Governor, it's a different gambler. We wish you well. We hope you're successful. Instead of going back and breaking another treaty with the Native Americans, how about just legalize sports betting? Isn't that politics? Both sides are happy? Oh yeah, that's a politics we used to have decades ago. Today it's both sides are angry. Nothing happens. Now, we legalize sports betting, the Vikings, well, they won't like it because it's gambling, but screw them. If we're paying for it, they got no business telling us how. You know, that's our business, how to pay for it. Whatever we want. Legalize sports betting, you got all, and when they wouldn't do that, I couldn't get one legislator to even carry the bill for that. And when they wouldn't do it, I then inquired, I said, well, can we press charges against the Star Tribune and the Pioneer Press? And they said, what are you talking about, Governor? I said, well, they're participating in an illegal activity. Every day in the paper you can read the point spread. That's only for gambling. The game's 0-0, ladies and gentlemen. When the Vikes played a Pack Sunday, 0-0. Except if you're a gambler, then the spread will be in the paper. Well, doesn't that mean that the newspaper is participating in an illegal activity, and shouldn't they be charged with a crime?
Hell yeah.
I think it'd be better to legalize it all and turn it into a business and make money and create jobs with it. Be a lot better. People are doing it. What do you think, it's going to go away because you prohibit something? Oh boy, now it's going to go away. You know, got news for you, it ain't going to happen. Thank you, I'll sign some books.